Thank you very much for inviting me. I have a little bit of a background in the cement industry in the sense that I sold refractories to the cement industry in North America. So, and then I was hired by Lafarge. I think somebody from Lafarge here, no, is at least on the list. So this gives me the chance to speak a little bit more frank. No, I was requested to help turn around a refractory division from Lafarge in the 80s. So, and this is has been the drive for my involvement in low cement concrete. So that's a little shocking, especially if you say this at Lafarge. So, but let's look at the sustainability imperative. It's basically recognized by the Harvard Business Review as a mega trend. From time to time you have mega trends in the history. We had in the 80s the quality assurance. In the 90s we had the IT being a very important mega trend. And sustainability is a mega trend here to stay. So either you go with the change or you don't. And then you're out. That's basically the message from this Harvard Business Review. What is more interesting even is that high sustainability companies have much higher financial yield. It's a report, I'm happy to share this with you, by Eccles from Harvard, who followed more than 100 companies over an 18-year period. So it makes money, so you don't have to be a tree hugger to get involved with sustainability. It's a corporate culture which is changing, and that is giving you the yield. It's also a commitment from the World Business Council of Sustainable Development by 23 leading cement producers. So they have committed themselves to sustainability. Pretty hard to get back. We are competing with other materials. You will not believe how wood is putting up a really show on saying, look at this 5-story high-rise in wood, how much carbon it has taken up. You see plastic bridge covers. At the Olympics in London, the curbstones are not made out of concrete, they are made out of plastic. So the people have elements, not 35 kilograms, but 5 kilograms to put down. So the competition is with other materials. I know I'm a pain in the neck for many conventional cement producers, but I think it is very useful to consider these things. The performance will be measured. Buildings are getting life cycle analysis and now also life cycle sustainability analysis. So at the end of the chain, you will be accounted for. So, what is the challenge? The challenge is basically that we have a culture of clinkerists, a word used by somebody from a big cement company starting with the H in Belgium. They say we have clinkerists, not the cementiers, but the clinkerists. So we have to change that towards becoming concrete binders people. We can change from volume to quality. We can do more with less clinker. So the future will be somebody who's saying, I have good news for you. I have a cement which is 10% more expensive. But you will use 15%, 20% less of it. Good for you, good for me. So we're adding new values to the products. So the environmental aspect, the social aspect, the prosperity aspect. So, but we have these serious problems. When I joined Lafarge Refractories, I discovered 2 patents in the drawer on low cement concrete. So we made a brochure, first in low cement concrete at Lafarge. So hell broke loose. The people from the Illuminate Cement, they said, "Wow, we're not going to give you any service. You're really ruining our business." So I went to ask to the guy who became later CEO of Lafarge, Bernard Castriel, if I was allowed to buy cement outside of the group. And I could. And so all of a sudden we got service and they started to cooperate. And then they came, yeah, but if you ask me to do this and to do that, we need a price increase. And I said, okay, go ahead. What do you need? Well, we want 10%. You know what? We'll give you 20%. It's good for you, good for me. I want good service. I want a quality product. So 10 years later, these people, they became the leaders for high quality cements in the world. So what happened is that the competition we had with refractory brick, market share went down, refractory concrete went up in its quality, the prices went up, and the financial benefit went up, and the people in question became world leader for low cement concretes. But you know, so they didn't even see a change in volume, although the content in the concrete was much lower. So we tried to export this to the civil concrete, and I left the group, Lafarge, and a year later somebody from Knauf knows why. My research director was asked by the board of directors and said, Monsieur Claveau, I want you to do the same thing you did in refractory concrete. I want you to do this in civil concrete, regardless the economical consequences for Lafarge. And he only could transfer this in ultra high performance concrete, was developed the ductile, and self-compacting concrete. So you know that all big organizations, they have a so-called gelatin layer, not just Lafarge, all of them. The message from the top never reaches the bottom, and the message from the bottom never comes to the top. The gelatin layer in the cement industry has had a hydraulic setting, I think. So we see, however, micro cracks developing, and influence from outside, such as the environment, will change the business. So the basic problem is that cement has been distributed and not sold. So you didn't have to know the customer. So how can you develop a vision if you don't know the customer? So there's a total lack of customer application knowledge in the cement industry. I have technical problems with this. Okay, what are the market trends we have to face? Sustainable construction performance, durability issues. And I'm standing here because we got in contact via LinkedIn. Everybody knows now. There's heavy discussions going on. And you have been following them very well. Thank you very much. And then it is linked with poverty. Also, I'm not a bleeding heart liberal, but I know that it makes sense that people have a decent living. And if you know that in Africa, in South Africa, they have to work 40 times longer on average to buy a bag of cement, and in Tanzania they have to work 130 times longer to buy a bag of cement. In the how do you call it? The consumption power.
Purchasing power.
Purchasing power, yes. Purchasing power, and average purchasing power. So I don't know if the cement there is 30 times better. I don't know. There will be increasing cost on waste. There is an increasing problem to operate quarries. The prescriptive national regulations is being seriously questioned. Non-Portland cement are difficult to stop. I know, I personally I'm waiting and seeing, and there's a lot of noise about it. But I think in certain niches of the market you will see non-Portland cement binders coming up. Be prepared, I think. If we look at supplementary cementing material, I don't like the word cementitious, but I think cementing materials, because there is more than just a hydraulic reaction which makes the strength of concrete. Those are recognized by the EN 197. By the way, 16 countries, it took them 27 years to come up with a prescriptive standard which is by law not even allowed in Europe anymore under the Construction Product Directive. So we have silica fume, there will be a discussion about this, I think. We have natural pozzolan. I'd like to also discuss this a little bit more because there is a lot of material and not enough knowledge. The fly ash is well taken care of here in this discussion. Burn shale. Ground calcium carbonate. Totally ignored. It's a fantastic SCM. The higher the calcium carbonate content, the better it is. It has been recognized since 98 in the Netherlands, much earlier in France, but really kept under the thumb very well. This has an incredible potential for the market. And we have lots of proof in it in the Netherlands on this. By the way, all these, and the blast furnace like you took care of that very well since 80 years in the Netherlands being used. So it's not a new thing. And you have many combinations possible. Now, not recognized, by the way, those were all SCMs which are included in this EN 197 as recognized as a SCM. Not recognized, but proven, metakaolan will be also discussed. What we call APRAM, activated paper recycled mineral. We'll talk about that this afternoon. Reactive rice husk silica, not just rice husk ash, but because ash is a dead product in many cases, except of course fly ash. Sugarcane bagasse minerals. There's a lot of that as well. And this, frankly, I don't know much about. So I haven't followed it as it's a little too exotic, I think. Now, this is, of course, the key question. Who mixes the SCMs? That's, up till now, the classic cement producer, the clinker producer and grinder, or the blast furnace slag grinder and calcium carbonate grinders. Now, what are the barriers? The volume culture of the clinkerists, only talking about the volumes, not about quality. The lack of market knowledge. I don't think the cement industry, again, didn't have to know the market because it was distributing, not selling. The own regulations. A friend of mine from Lafarge, he said, Boudewijn, with all these regulations, we have dug our own hole and we can't get out of it anymore. So they are stuck in the system which has been created. And silo capacity, well, that's a question of investment. So, mixing by the concrete producer. You see that the ready-mix people are more and more having to deliver so many cubic meters for this type, so many cubic meters of that type. You will see in advanced ready-mix plants, you will see many, many silos now. All different materials. These guys can play the whole day and say this, and mix all the SCMs, because, by the way, you cannot say blast furnace slag is better than fly ash, than calcium carbonate. than silica fume, they all are different. So they all have their place. So the barriers are again the national regulations, silo capacity, the knowledge of the binder suppliers. I don't think they know enough about. It's getting better, by the way, especially in the blast furnace slag. We see some really very good people being active there now. And the variable availability of the different SCMs, of course, is also can be a handicap. Now, this is an interesting one. The mixing by the precaster. Precaster is a very interesting customer for supplying a ready-made binder. By the way, I find the word cement very confusing. I presume we are talking here about Portland cement, but somebody said King Albert of Belgium is the cement of the Belgian nation. Okay, so there are many interpretations of the word, but again, the barrier is the knowledge by the supplier and the regulations. Although these are now fast changing, there will be CE marking on precast imposed. So it's not anymore how you make it, but what you're making is coming up. Can't stop it. I didn't do it. Look at this. We made self-compacting concrete in the Netherlands using 180 kilograms of OPC, 180 kilograms of blast furnace slag, and ground calcium carbonate, 180. We have here just 4 water binder ratios. If you take the nationalized regulations, the EN 206, by the way, is not homogenized in Europe, so everybody put on their own sauce. So in the UK this would have 0.40, in the Netherlands 0.45, in France 0.66, and in Germany 0.92, and many other countries, Spain, you name it. So this is clearly, what was the word, BS or something like that? So if you look at, with these 3 materials, we have now made 2 types of cements. You have made a CEM 3C and a CEM 2B. And then if you count it like that, you look at 0.36 water binder ratio. If you do this on an equal footing. But this is also very interesting. The self-compacting concrete, a better quality concrete, which has far more strength and durability and beautiful surface, is only 190 kilograms carbon footprint of CO2. Well, it replaced the 360 kilograms product. The conclusion is that the regulated water binder ratio is not according to EU principles, penalizing the use of environmental friendly SCMs, in this case, of course, the blast furnace slag and the ground calcium carbonate. So, if we summarize facilitating the SCMs, there is a move to go away from the prescriptive regulations to dynamic performance verification methodology. That's a project I'm involved in. It is the European Eco-Innovation Project. So it will be very dynamic. We're using a methodology which has been developed first by California and then Canada and then the United States, and is now being introduced in Europe. We will provide a performance indicator. We're coming up with a life cycle sustainability index for concrete to counteract the FSC label for wood. We will get human capacity building. If you have to mix all these different SCMs, you need somebody who is smarter than just pushing on a button. So you get more intelligent people doing their work with more passion. And we look forward to a dialogue with Klinkerist for the culture change which will be taking place in the industry. So, thank you very much. By the way, if anybody of you sees some interesting pilot projects where we can make naughty but very interesting concrete, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Boudewijn, for your presentation. Boudewijn, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind coming back up to the lectern, because I at the very least have a couple of quick questions. Are there any other questions from the floor? Okay, yes please. Give us your name and company first.
Denis Bizarre from UCAM. The thing is that the big cement producers are making the norms, and it will be difficult to find norms which will be applied to your ideas, which are going in a certain way against these companies. And that takes a very long time. In France, we probably will get this Mediterranean, and the norm it took us more than 2 years to persuade, and we had big difficulty to persuade the cement producers not to oppose it.
Yeah, but that's exactly what this project is all about. To change the regulations, we have demonstrated to DG Enterprise in Brussels that concrete is not transborder. The concrete from the Netherlands is not allowed to go to Germany. It is not according to the construction product directives, because it's prescriptive. It says you have to use so much of my stuff. We see it is not environmental friendly. It is not favoring SMEs. So this is the change which is taking place now. And it is not, I knew since 2002 what I wanted. I know only since 2007 how, and since 2009 with whom. And this is taking place now, and I think it's a fantastic, interesting future for intelligent cement producers, because they will make a SEM 162.5 RR or a SEM 3C 22.5 or something like that, whatever you want to call it. So it's a fantastic, interesting opportunity to move to quality. And it's just a different way of making money. Sorry.
That's fine. In fact, my question was going to be along exactly the same lines. Presumably, it's the final users of the material which have the real power, because it's their money that's being spent. And what they want, actually, at the end of the day, is performance at a good price.
Yes, that's correct. The problem is, of course, the problem. I don't know if it's a problem or an opportunity, in my opinion, is that the ready mix in Europe, at least, is controlled 50 to 80% by the cement producers. But even there, I know that the Heidelberg people have said we have to reduce cement, you know, so.
Right. The ready-mix people are the customers of the cement producers, but the ready-mix producers are not actually the final users of the material. The final users of the material are the specifiers.
You're right.
And the architects and the civil engineers. Yeah. And those really are the people that need to be educated or persuaded, perhaps.
You're right. That's why tomorrow I have about a 2-hour session with a big engineering company in London to re-educate. It's indeed, the education is a big problem. You're right.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Are they open to this suggestion?
Definitely.
Do they care?
They do care, because if they do it smart, they can make some money with it. So there's always a question of who takes the margins. But the engineering company is coming and saying, hey, look at this, I have a very environmental friendly project, like the Olympics. On Monday I'm meeting the lady who managed the action between the engineers, the producers and the contractor. So it is very complex, and you have to do this very well in advance. The brilliant lady, by the way, who gave a presentation a couple of weeks ago in Amsterdam on sustainable construction. like the Olympics is a real showcase for that. So yeah, you're right. It has to be re-educated, and that's happening. That is happening because everybody is getting the pressure on life cycle analysis and life cycle sustainability analysis. You're not going to move that away.
Right. You touched very briefly on one of the critical issues that we actually haven't programmed into the conference at all, but actually it's the elephant in the room. We found this at the Global Slag Conference as well, and that is who gets the margin. Because certainly in the cement industry, the iron and steel industry and the cement industry, of course the cement industry is using the ground granulated blast furnace slag. They're getting it very, very cheaply. They're using it in the process. They're reducing their carbon dioxide emissions. They're benefiting from that, although less than previously. And of course they're getting a very, very cheap raw material. And the steel industry, certainly with the reduced supply that we're seeing, has woken up to the fact that actually it's the cement industry that's getting most of the benefit there, and they are starting to say there is a shortage, we need to see more benefits from this supply chain. So as you've mentioned there, I think that one of the key questions that we're not really addressing at the conference is who's going to get the benefit, who's going to get the margin of these SCMs if they're used in cement or concrete or ready mix.
It depends who adds the values. If the concrete binder producer, that's how I like to call it, if he can go to this customer, indeed, in the way I said, I have good news for you because I have a very expensive product, then he is the one who is going to benefit from it. But he has to come there not as somebody who is saying, here, I'm a distributor, take it or leave it. So you see big moves already with the blast furnace slags in the Netherlands, where some grinder of slag comes and say, I'd like to buy slag, and then the steel company said, buying? I thought we had to pay for it. You know, so and we will see blast furnace slag, in my opinion, becoming more expensive than clinker.
Right at the back, please give us your name and company.
Rob Lewis from LChem Materials, silica fume producers. What a breath of fresh air, and I will answer the question that you've asked. The difficulty with producing these concretes and these qualities of concretes is that everybody is chasing the cost per cubic meter.
Yeah.
Nobody, as you agree, is looking at the value of that to the total project. They do not look at the fact that they can produce a better quality material, they can move it faster, they can actually build using less material and therefore save volume and save money, they can save time and all the other processes that go with it, and they get a much more sustainable and long-lasting project. But people will not look at that. People need to be shown that time and time and time again, because all they will look at is the cost per cubic meter, and if they can save 10 pence a cubic meter, they will buy something that's 10 pence a cubic meter cheaper. I will go into that in my talk.
No, absolutely right. Absolutely right. So there is a move from thinking price towards final cost. And that's why, linked with this life cycle analysis and life cycle sustainability analysis, you will have the life cycle costing. Now, the durability of materials is really being scrutinized right now, more and more. And if you look at it, premature failures of concrete structures, 20% is due to poor concrete, 30% poor engineering, and 50% poor installation. So we have, but it is being on non-destructive methods are being tested more and more. So but it would be so nice to see more knowledge of the clinker suppliers, because personally I think clinker will be with us for quite a while. But you can't stop the other producer. You know, there's one in the Nova Cem, and you have the alkali activated geopolymer people. They will start nibbling on the market. We
have some producers of alternative cements here at the meeting, so you can have an interesting discussion with them. Any other questions or points from the floor? In which case, Boudewijn, Piscaer, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Good luck.